I'm not content with the content. I want more. I'm not content with the content. I want more.
Welcome everybody to Hooligan Radio, the podcast that covers movies, video games, true crime, cryptids, conspiracies, all in one. To my right, I have Zach. How's it going?
Oh, I'm doing great on this post-Super Bowl Monday.
All right, and across from me, I have Isaiah. How are you doing, Isaiah?
I'm doing alright. I can't complain.
And I am Josh. I'm doing all right, guys. You brought up the Super Bowl, Zach. I ran a poll on the Hooligan Radio Twitter today about what your favorite Super Bowl trailer was, because that game was so terrible that I think people are mostly watching the commercials. 60% of the vote went to Avengers Endgame. So, did you guys see the Avengers Endgame little TV spot yesterday, and what did you think of it?
It was the perfect teaser, because it just gave you enough to be like, I need more, but not too much to where it's you can, like, theorize what's going to happen. Like, you saw the people who were alive, and that was pretty much it. It didn't go into anything else.
What's the director's name of the Avengers?
It's Joe and Anthony Russo.
Yeah, so Joe Russo tweeted, "Turn on your TVs, ... And then IGN quote tweeted it and said, "Where's the remote, Karen?" And I think that was the best part of the teaser.
That's pretty great. Speaking of the directors, though, kind of going into what you said, Zach, I actually saw the directors had said that for all of the marketing for Endgame, they're only going to use the first 20 minutes of the movie. So everything we've seen from the first trailer and this spot and any future marketing is supposedly only the first 20 minutes of the movie, which I think is a very smart move so that they don't have to give anything away.
They're doing it right, because we'll talk about a movie that did the opposite later on.
Yeah, and if you think about it, last year, everyone in the world saw Infinity War. So this movie doesn't need to be marketed like to let people know. People already know what it is. Yeah. So, but they're managing to take that 20 minutes and still make good material. Like that 30-second spot, I love the shot of like New York City now that it's like basically dead. It reminds me of like The Walking Dead or something. Like nobody's there. You see Captain America and like what looks like a support group for people who have lost people to the snap, and you see Black Widow pissed off shooting at a target practice.
Was she blonde in the trailer?
Yeah, so she was blonde in Infinity War. So it looks like at least in the first 20 minutes of the movie she's still blonde. But
did you see? There's like an article floating around about how there's evidently a character edited out of a couple of the scenes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's like a scene where I think it's Thor and somebody else that are in a scene, but no, I think it might be Captain America. But it's like perfectly framed so 3 characters would fit, but just the one on the right is just not there. So the frame looks weird.
Yeah.
Because
it's like
it would be positioned different if it was just the 2 of them supposed to be in the frame.
Yeah. No, Marvel does that all the time. They did that a lot in
exactly
Civil
what
War.
They were saying,
they did that a lot in Civil War with Spider-Man. They edited him out of a lot of the scenes for the trailers.
I'm going to bet that it was Captain Marvel.
That's what I'm going to guess.
That would make a lot of sense. So overall, that was the most liked trailer from our poll. The next one in the poll that people liked, with 27% of the vote, was the Twilight Zone trailer. So Jordan Peele is going to be the new host and producer of this reboot of the Twilight Zone. Before we actually talk about the show itself, did you guys watch the teaser, and what did you guys think of it?
I saw the teaser. I, again, did the same thing, just briefly touched on it. Besides that, not more info. I actually have to admit, I never really watched any of the Twilight Zone series before this. So I'm just ready to dive right into it when it comes out.
I didn't see it. I didn't watch the Super Bowl, so unless you sent it directly to me, I did not.
So
you didn't miss much.
Yeah, it's basically just Jordan Peele in an empty football stadium monologuing. But the thing that really gets me about this, because I would like to watch it, is that it's only going to be available on CBS All Access, which is CBS's streaming service. Stop
doing this.
So it's not even going to be available on CBS, the TV channel, only CBS All Access, which is $5 a month. So would either of you guys pay $5 a month
Absolutely
to watch
this?
Not.
Rip.
Why? Does DC still have their
Team service? Yeah. Well, what about Teen Titans? The show, you mean?
Yeah, because I remember they were like, we're going to make Teen Titans but it's only on DC service. Are they still doing that?
I mean, I'm pretty sure the first season came out on there. I haven't heard any news about that streaming service since it debuted. But
yeah, because no one's going to see it.
I love that the fact that there are 3 Teen Titans going to be on that service. There's Teen Titans Go. The original Teen Titans will be coming back more than likely on that service. And then Titans, the really edgy looking one.
Yeah, so too many services. We need a monopoly to come in and buy them all.
Sounds like a Disney aspect that they might be interested in.
Well, Disney now, because they bought Fox, technically owns the majority of Hulu. So we'll see where that leads.
I do have a bone to pick with Disney. I can't believe they showed the Toy Story 4 trailer at like 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Didn't show it before.
The game.
Yeah, you would think their target audience is like kids or like people who are like gonna be like, Mom, I need to go see this movie. They're in bed.
Yeah. And to be honest with the Toy Story 4 trailer, I didn't even list it on the poll because like out of all the ones last night, that like impressed me the least. Like I was like, okay, it's Toy Story. Like we're all gonna see it. It's Toy Story. Everyone will go.
I don't know.
But Key and Peele are in it though, which is cool. They're playing the 2 teddy bears or whatever. But
we're at an amazing transition point to talk about gaming news. If you guys are ready.
I just want to talk about one more thing.
All right.
I want to talk about scary stories to tell in the dark.
Yes, okay. We do need to talk about this because this looks great. I'm excited for this one.
Okay. I didn't see the thing.
Have you guys ever read the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark books?
Mm-hmm. I remember checking those out from the library at our school and just reading them through like a night and just going back and getting the next one.
Yeah, they were the images especially were pretty traumatizing. Yeah. The guy who's making this is Guillermo del Toro, the guy who made the first few Hellboy movies, and he also made Shape of Water a couple years ago. So he makes some really weird stuff. So I'm surprised that this movie isn't going to Netflix. Like this is actually getting a theatrical release. This is something that I feel like what you would see going to something like Netflix. But I'm
surprised. I actually thought they were approaching it like a series. So where they would do like an hour episode or something like that with different chapters. I didn't think it was actually like a movie.
Yeah, it seems like what they're going to do is take a lot of the stories and try to melt it into one movie. So we'll see how that ends up working. That comes out in August. But the clip of the spider in the girl's face, that was enough to just creep me the hell out. So, okay, now we're done with some trailers.
Rewind back to talking about Toy Story. Yeah, we're all going to see Yo. Kingdom Hearts 3 dropped since the last time we talked to you guys. And let me tell you, I'm not really impressed. I'm going to say it. I know that there's going to be a backlash because I don't know. It's just not great.
How far into it are you?
I am probably close to 15 hours into the game.
What percentage-wise do you think you're at?
I have no idea. It doesn't tell me.
Okay.
I don't even know how long the game is. But it's kind of like... There's some things about it. I guess when I was younger, I never really noticed the gameplay loop of the game. And this one, it's pretty evident. You get to a new world and you're like, oh, it's a Disney world. You play through the SparkNotes version of the plot of that Disney movie. And then you fight a big Heartless at the end and then you go to the next one.
Yeah.
So it has been years since the third one has come out. So what movies have they intertwined with it?
It's been years since the second one has come out. This is the third one. No, I can't tell you that. That's a lot of spoilers.
A lot of Disney characters.
All right.
Yeah, if I tell you what movies, then I tell you what worlds are in the game. And biggest part of the game is finding out what worlds are in the game.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But one thing I'll say, I got Kingdom Hearts 3 as well. Have not played it nearly as much as you. Haven't even gotten past the first world yet. But what I'll say is the last time I played Kingdom Hearts was like over a decade ago with Kingdom Hearts 2. And just playing this one right now, while I enjoy playing it, there has nothing besides the graphics that have stuck out to me as any different from the previous games. Like, I started playing Kingdom Hearts 3, and it feels exactly like I'm playing Kingdom Hearts the original, or Kingdom Hearts 2. Yeah. With, like, the gameplay, the mechanics, there's nothing, like, at least that I've experienced yet, new that they've introduced to the game outside of the new levels and everything.
Right.
But that's not necessarily an all bad thing, because I loved those two games. Mm-hmm. So I like that gameplay. It's that Final Fantasy-type gameplay. Yeah. So I'm really excited to get more into it, even though you don't say you care for it that much. I'm excited to see where it goes. But it looks really nice.
Yeah, it's alright. Just like I said, I don't see any innovation or anything like that, and the game feels really fucking easy. Like, I'm playing it on the medium mode, and I probably should have played it on the hard mode, but from what I've heard from a lot of people who are playing it at work, it's like, there's really no difference between the two, and it's still really easy.
Does it carry that E rating, or is it to a
It's
T?
E10.
It's E10.
Because of an alcohol reference. The only reason
single alcohol reference.
The only reason I know that is because it just stuck out to me so ridiculously. I'm like, I love that it's E10 for an alcohol reference. I don't know what that reference is yet. But
I imagine Winnie the Pooh's just going to come out and be like, hey, guys.
He's just drunk as hell.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's our Kingdom Hearts talk. I won't go into it because I know that there's a lot of people who are not as far as I am, and I don't want to spoil what is included and not included. But in other news, today we got a surprise release, and it's been pretty cool. So Respawn Games, the people who make Titanfall, just out of nowhere decided to drop a Battle Royale game, which is in the Titanfall universe, is what I think I've been told, or something along those lines. And it's called Apex, and it's super sweet. I showed the guys a little bit before we started recording, and it's a class-based battle royale, so you pick like your character at the beginning, and you get different abilities due to the fact like of who you choose. So I actually got my first win already, so you better catch up. But this is on Monday. Let me remind you. This will come out on Wednesday. You guys might have wins by then, but your boy already got a win. So
yeah, just from the little bit I saw of it, I did not expect anything because I didn't know what to expect. But I was very impressed to the point where I'm considering downloading it. You said it's available on PS4, right?
And it's free.
So it looked better. Like gameplay-wise, it looked more fun than Fortnite or Blackout, which is the only two Battle Royale games I've played.
Right.
So, yeah, it looked very impressive. Do you think this is going to be like a game that they actually put out that you have to pay for eventually, or what is this?
I don't think so. I think that it's going to stay free to play. It's going to stick to like the Fortnite model where you can pay to get like cosmetics and stuff like that. I think that they're doing it loot box style instead of like the V-Bucks buy your skin style. I don't know. I haven't really looked into the actual like unlocking of cosmetics because I've finally convinced myself that I don't give a shit about cosmetics, and I never have. So they'll never get me to pay more money than what I already have to pay.
Yeah.
Ever since loot boxes came out, I just stopped caring about cosmetics because it just seems like a gamble every single time you do it.
Yeah, that's why I'm still John Wick in Fortnite. I'm like, this is kind of cool. I don't care.
But at least with that, you can unlock things
Yeah.
instead of just being like, I'm gonna gamble and
like
spend $10, get all this, and maybe get something that I actually want.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it goes back all the way to when we used to play League of Legends. I never gave a damn about skins. It's all about the actual playing the game. Everybody's like, oh, look at my skin. I'm so much better because I have a skin. And I'm like, oh, yeah, let me beat you with the default skin. Bye, get wrecked. I'm so much better.
I don't know. iPod Blitzcrank still looks beautiful.
No way, dude. Well, I mean, the skins look cool, but I'll never be enticed to pay $20 for a skin or something stupid like that.
Would you spend a Subway gift card on one?
No.
No? Alright.
Subway is actual sustenance.
What a weird question. Why is it a Subway gift card?
Because somehow, I don't know how they like partnered up, but you can use Subway gift cards
in League of Legends to buy skins.
Yeah, but it's only Subway gift cards.
Blows my mind. But yeah, I just like, there's never been a time where I'm like, oh my god, I need to put more money into this so I can get that skin so that my Soldier 76 can look like a dad with an apron on. But yeah, in other news, we're going to do Indie Game Corner. Let's get it, boys. So one of the indie games I've been waiting for a long ass time came out on Friday. It's called Wargroove. If you've ever played the Advanced Wars series, which is like a tactical turn-based video game, strategy game. It's a new take on that. It's made by the same people who made Stardew Valley. So imagine what they did for Stardew Valley and Harvest Moon. They basically did for Advanced Wars. It's really cool. They have a single-player campaign that I've been playing through. I'm on Act 5. It's really fucking hard. Like, you actually have to be able to do the strategies in order to beat the levels. It's like a huge puzzle game, and I'm super into it.
It almost looks like Fire Emblem, like that art and like the gameplay of it.
Yeah.
And I love Fire Emblem, so I'm probably going to have to buy this and give it a try.
It looks here like, I'm just looking at it online here, it has a 9 out of 10 on Steam, and on Google, it's rated a 97% of people who liked it. So that's pretty high praise. How much does it cost, did you say?
I think it's $20 or $25. I got mine on the Switch.
Now, is it where you can only face the computer, or are you able to face others as well?
There's actually a really cool aspect where you can play multiplayer online, and it has async capabilities. So, say Zach and I both bought the game, we could either A, play it directly at the same time, so say Zach and I are playing right now, or if Zach has to stop playing, he can leave, I can take my turn, and then the game will wait until Zach takes his next turn.
Oh, that's
and
really
then
cool.
It'll let me, and then whenever I turn my Switch on again, it'll let me know that Zach has taken his turn, and I can take my turn again.
Wow, I like that.
Yeah. So that's pretty badass. I found out about that today via Peter, and yeah, I'm pumped for that. It's super cool. There is like all of the thing that's really cool about it is like all of the commanders have different special abilities, but all of the units that those commanders have are the same. But they have different art styles depending on the commander that you are. So like if you're the red commander, you have like dragons with people riding them. If you're the blue commanders, it's just like the dragons. If you're the yellow commander, they have like these mechanical dragons that they're like flying, like two guys are flying. It's really cool. So all of the different kinds kind of like do a little bit art difference in each of the units. So I would definitely check it out if you're into games like that with turn-based strategy games. Definitely give it a shot. Let me know what you think. Is there any other news? Any creepy news there, Zach?
There's always creepy news. So
always.
This week we're going to be going to the alien side with a UFO sighting out of North Carolina. A YouTuber named Brett Jones, aka Space Brett on YouTube, caught a video of a random flashing object when he was outside looking at birds. He actually first noticed a plane, and he noticed that flashing object behind it. It's a 5-minute long video. We'll go ahead and post it up this week too, so you guys can see the video too. Give some credit to Space Brett. But the object's like a pill-shaped, cigar-shaped object that you can see floating around in the sky, and it also seems to be going in and out as well. Like, I don't want to say like it's warping in and out, but you can obviously see it like at one moment starts like fade away and come back as well.
Yeah, I noticed that in the video as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the video was actually posted on Saturday. Since it was been posted, it's had thousands of views. One really interesting about this, though, is that this area of North Carolina, which is specifically Greensboro, this has been a home to a lot of recent sightings over the last couple of years of other UFO objects. I'm not too sure if there's like any correlation with like a military base or something like that around there. That because usually military bases, it could either be like an experimental spacecraft that maybe they're testing out, especially in that area, or just military bases are usually a hotspot for paranormal activity as well. I know for a fact Josh has seen it. Have you taken a look at the video yet, Isaiah?
No, I haven't seen it.
At first I was like, all right, what is this shit? But then once you actually see it, I can understand why, you would think maybe it's an alien spacecraft. It really didn't, I'd say, like, it didn't blow me away or, like, impress me all that much. But at the same time, I couldn't think of an explanation for what it could be outside of it just being fake.
Yeah.
Like, if it is a real, genuine video, I have no explanation for what it could be. So,
to me, the significance is more of the area and that there's multiple reported sightings of things going on. The video itself is a little bit iffy on my side. I know at one point in the article it said that he had to blow up the footage to about 900% just to be able to see the object, which that's usually a huge red flag because the quality of the picture at that point in time is down the drain.
Yeah. And what kind of camera do you have? Like, how much was he zooming in the first place? Like, Jesus, was he out there with a freaking camcorder? Like, what was he using to film birds with?
I think he was using one of those old VHS freaking cameras. Not the greatest quality, but it's still worth a view on it. I know at one point in time this actually got caught, like a news station around there actually picked this up as well earlier this week and was talking about it too. So, I mean, it's getting a lot of coverage around the area. So something's going on in North Carolina, but don't know exactly what.
See it, rent it, stream it. See it, rent it, stream it. See it, rent it, stream it. See it, rent it, stream it.
So me and Zach Zach watched the new Jake Gyllenhaal and Dan Gilroy movie Velvet Buzzsaw. Zach, let's hear your opinions of it first, without spoiling anything.
Why? The trailer already did.
The trailer already spoiled everything.
What if you watch the 1.5 minute trailer? You know the entire concept of the movie and the ending already.
It's literally the entire film. Like, okay, if you've watched the trailer but haven't seen the movie, this review is basically going to be a spoiler review for you if you've seen the trailer, because you'll know what we're talking about. If you haven't seen the trailer, let's say someone hasn't seen the trailer, would you recommend them seeing this movie?
No. I actually, probably one of the first movies on here I will not recommend to someone.
Yeah, I will say one positive thing about it, and I might be biased on this, but Jake Gyllenhaal is great in the movie, as usual. Yeah. And Toni Collette's really great as well.
Like we said a week or 2 weeks ago, this is going to be Jake Gyllenhaal's year, but this is not a good start to it.
For what he's given in the movie, he does amazing, and I thought Toni Collette was really good. I thought a lot of the actors in it were really good. They just weren't given anything. So I think if you're a fan of Jake Gyllenhaal, I would watch it. But if you have seen the trailer, you've seen every single death in this movie outside of one person with the tattoo on her neck.
Yeah.
Everybody else, you've seen the death in the trailer. Like, it's literally the ending scene of the movie with Jake Gyllenhaal is in the trailer. And I had this pit in my stomach feeling the whole time watching it, like, none of these scenes in the trailer have happened yet. This better not be the end sequence of the movie. And it is.
It is. Yeah, it's absolutely the last 15 minutes is the trailer, and it's just disgusting.
It's just such a shame because the movie was like, it's mediocre, it's fine if I hadn't have seen that trailer, but the trailer completely ruined it. So I just ended up rewatching Nightcrawler, which is a movie that came out a few years ago with Jake Gyllenhaal and was directed by the same guy and is a much, much better movie. So I had to rewatch Nightcrawler to get the taste of Velvet Buzzsaw out of my mouth.
Maybe you should not watch this. Wait till Spider-Man comes out to see a good movie with Jake Gyllenhaal, and then come back and see it.
Yeah, I mean, it's on Netflix. If you have Netflix, you want to watch it. It's not a waste of your time. But I would seriously recommend renting Nightcrawler if you haven't seen it. It's about Jake Gyllenhaal basically getting into the business of filming crimes as they happen at night and selling it to the news. It takes place like a few decades ago, and he gets really into that role. He's insane in that movie, and like I said, I just rewatched it again, and it's amazing. So I recommend that movie with Jake Gyllenhaal and directed by Dan Gilroy. Much more. Isaiah, you saw something as well you want to talk about?
Yeah, so I watched Fahrenheit 11/9. So this is Michael Moore, right? Is that his name?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so he made...
Good old Michael Moore.
He made a documentary, I guess, about what I don't know what to call it.
Well, it's like thinking of like what he's made in the past, like he made Fahrenheit 9/11, which is about 9/11. He made Bowling for Columbine, I believe, a movie about Columbine. I think that's what he made, but he makes political documentaries, basically.
Yeah, so it is wild. I watched it, and so it's supposed to be about like the Trump regime or whatever, and he gets into some crazy shit. Like, this is I don't know if the one clip from the movie I had seen before I'd seen the movie is like Michael Moore gets a truckload of water from Flint and just sprays it all over the governor's like front yard, because the governor is like basically the reason why all this shit happened to Flint. I don't know.
It's the governor of Michigan?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's pretty crazy. He talks about, not only does he talk about Flint, but he talks about like school shootings and like, dude, it was wild. I highly recommend it. I'll put the trigger warning on it that there are like legitimate like Snapchat videos of kids who are actually in school shootings in the movie. Like, it is brutal. And
I heard a lot from people when this was first coming out who watched it that felt that the Flint, Michigan part was like the strongest part of the documentary, and I even heard some people say that they had wished he had just made a Flint, Michigan documentary because of how good that part was. What did you think about specifically that part of the documentary?
The Flint, Michigan part is probably the reason why I would tell everyone to watch it, but it's not. The thing about it is that's weird is like, it's kind of marketed as this thing about like Donald Trump, but the other aspects of it seemed like he didn't have enough material to do full documentaries on each thing, or didn't have the time. So it's like multiple things and this is happening in the Trump.
Yeah.
Dude, whew, talking about coming off of the Hunting Hitler episode, like all of the connections he makes of Donald Trump and Hitler, like blow my fucking mind at the end of it, dude. It's like the last. So it's basically like 4 quarters. The beginning is like kind of like an intro of what's going on. Then he goes into like the Flint stuff when he talks about the governor of Michigan, and then the next part he talks about the school shootings. And then in the fourth quarter, the final part of it, he's like doing all of these comparisons to like America now and Germany then, and it is. I would absolutely recommend that you watch it with a grain of salt. If you have to fast forward through those parts that are like really brutal, that's fine too. But
where did you watch it?
I watched it on Amazon Prime for free.
So it's free on Amazon Prime?
Is it only on Amazon Prime? It's not on Hulu or
I didn't
Netflix?
look. I just saw that it was on Amazon Prime yesterday.
If I come across a day where I'm not already sickened by what I see on Twitter, I will watch it. But most days by like noon, I see enough political stuff on Twitter to want to rip my hair out already. So,
oh man, yeah. I think you should watch it if you think you get sickened by the stuff that you see on Twitter. I think that is more of a reason to watch it, personally.
Shit, okay, well, and that's it, because nothing has come out in theaters yet, because it's been January.
But we'll have stuff for the Valentines.
Okay, so let's get into our main topic today. Isaiah, what are we talking about?
We are talking about what could possibly be the downfall of AAA gaming. Or is it the revival of AAA gaming? I can't tell you. Well, I could tell you, and I'm going to. So, I'm going to break it down by... It's so hard for me because I can always get confused between who's a publisher and who's a game developer. So I'm pretty sure that some of these are publishers and some of these are game developers. So the way that the hierarchy works is like EA isn't really a game developer. They're a publisher. So they own a bunch of contracts with these game companies to say for the next 20 years, you're only going to release games through us. And they're going to handle the release, the servers and stuff like that, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to talk about some development companies and some publishers, and then we'll get kind of an aspect like that.
Real quick, for someone who's a very casual gamer such as myself, what's just like a brief description of what AAA gaming is?
So a AAA gaming, I consider like the big head honchos, the multi-millionaire, close to billionaire game companies. That's what's kind of considered AAA. So things that have been around for like ever. So I have a bunch of examples that we'll talk about, like Bethesda and EA and all those kind of stuff. Like these huge gaming companies, like the big whales, some people would say. So like that's where you get either AAA or indie companies, where indie companies are kind of smaller and they don't have a huge like catalog of games and they haven't been around forever. But yeah, so really what it boils down to is, do we think that AAA gaming is losing their grasp on what gamers want from the industry, or do you think that they know what we want but they don't really have a good way to try to get it to us? It's really hard. I don't know, but I'd like to give some examples of where I think that they're kind of losing their grasp on us, like they don't really know what gamers want. And I think that a good first example for that is to start talking about Bethesda. So Bethesda, oh man, Bethesda. I would say probably one of the most loved gaming companies as we went through high school and off into college, coming out with games like Skyrim and the Elder Scrolls series, and then like the Fallout series. People loved Fallout 3 and New Vegas. But recently, I don't think that they're doing as well as we think they're doing or want them to be doing.
I can't even name a game besides the Elder Scrolls series or Fallout that Bethesda has come out with, to be honest.
Yeah, they only have a few IPs. They have the Fallout series, the Elder Scrolls series, and they're working on a new series that's called Starbound, I believe. That's pretty much it. But they have like multiple games in these series.
Yeah.
But the real problem is we can see that they did not do very hot with this Fallout 76 that they tried to release. I don't think I've run into anyone who has said that game was good.
I haven't run into anybody that bought the game.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't know anyone who owns it.
I asked my younger brother, Devin, who's been on the podcast, who loves Fallout, and he didn't even get it. So
yeah. Did you guys end up getting Fallout 4, the game that came out before?
I did, yes.
I have not played since New Vegas.
Since New Vegas.
A long time ago.
What did you think of Fallout 4?
It was good in the sense of a general Fallout game, but at one point, halfway through it, I'm just like, it's getting to the same old thing. Not the same old thing of the missions are becoming repetitive, but it's like, I've done this before in the third one. I've done this exact same thing in New Vegas. It's just putting in a different environment and adding different characters.
I did watch Devin play Fallout 4, though, and he really enjoys that one. So
right. And I think that the problem, I personally didn't love Fallout 4. I played it because everybody else was playing it, and I thought it was a pretty okay game, but I never beat it. I never got all the way through. It never enticed me to get to the end.
Me with every game.
There's a few games that I get to the end of nowadays, but
I beat Super Mario 3D World.
See, to me, Bethesda comes out with these games that are just beautifully made, but they're single player. And I wonder if people are like me, where you can only do the single player aspect for so long. Mm-hmm. And when they come out with these games, such as like Fallout 76 or Elder Scrolls Online, when they try to incorporate online with other people, they drop the ball every single time.
I think we talked about before, though, the single-player element is that you can still do it, but it has to be really good. Like when we talked about God of War, we said, when's the last time a single-player game like this hooked you in so strongly? Because God of War was so good. So I feel like you can still definitely do it. Like Breath of the Wild would be another example, but it just has to be a really good game in order to do that.
But even with God of War, it goes to the same thing of the replay factor.
Yeah.
How many times are you going to want to replay the same thing over and over again? Because it's going to be the same thing.
That's true.
With only possibly changing up the difficulty, or you trying to go back and find Easter eggs or complete the game 100%.
Yeah, and I guess that becomes a problem. Is like you have to. It's a road that we have to meet game companies halfway with. You're going to pay let's say you pay $60 for a game. If you put 1,000 hours in that game, you make so much money yourself off of that. That is the cheapest experience you could ever have. Like
$60 for 1,000 hours.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. If like that's why the way I think about it is like I've already gotten my money from Wargroove because I know I've played 10 hours. Mm-hmm. That's $2 an hour. Mm-hmm. Compared to if I went to a movie, $12? So
$6 an hour, basically.
Yeah. So I'm making a killing on that game. So if I play God of War for 40 to 60 hours, I'm still making so much more entertainment out of $60 than I am. Mm-hmm. And you have the opportunity to sell it back. You can't sell back a movie you went and saw.
Plus also, too, I think it's interesting to point out, think about how many people were mad when Call of Duty announced they weren't putting campaign in the game anymore.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people were like, well, that's what I buy the $60 game for. I don't want to pay $60 for a purely multiplayer game. So that's really an interesting point, too.
Yeah, I think that replayability, while we want it in a game, is completely viable. I think it's almost impossible at the $60 price point. You're making maps that are 40 times bigger than whenever games moved up from $60 to $60.
Yeah.
Think about how big the last game you bought was compared to the first game you bought at $60.
Like Grand Theft Auto San Andreas to now.
Yeah, you can literally like fly planes from across the map in that game, and it takes time. You're like, what the hell? Right? So like, it's brutal to think of it in that aspect. Like, we're getting a killing for the money that we put into it. Mm-hmm. And that's why a lot of these game companies are doing this thing like you'll hear about called games as a service, where you get a game and then you pay for a battle pass or something like that, and you have to keep paying because it's easier for them to make money that way. They keep making money that way off of the game. If you want continuous development, you want updates to this game, you need to meet with the developer halfway and be like, okay, well, they're not going to work for free.
Yeah. If we're going to keep making keep working on the game, you should have to keep paying money into the game. Is their idea, essentially.
Which is something that nobody wants to do.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to subscribe to all of the games you play. Could you imagine? And it's like, well...
Or imagine having to pay, like, $2.99 every time there's, like, a big update or something.
Exactly.
I mean, people would freak out.
Right. And, like, the developers can only sell so many copies of a game. Like, there's only so many people who are, A, interested in the game, and B, have access to it. Mm-hmm. So you have to think about it like that. And that's what's brutal is, like, what is... These companies, another big point is these companies aren't making the amount of money that they were originally making because they're spending so much money to make games better than they once were. So is that a big point against what's happening in AAA gaming? You know what I mean? Like, if the next Elder Scrolls game comes out and the map is as big as Skyrim, are you going to be satisfied?
Yeah, I'll be okay with that one.
I mean, I would as a casual gamer, but most people are going to be like, why is it the same size
Why is
as
it the
Skyrim?
same size as Skyrim?
But it was huge already.
Yeah,
Start.
but Skyrim came out 10 years ago.
Yeah, which is insane.
Yeah.
So, like, what do you want from them? And so there's, like, sacrifices that these game companies would have to make in order to do that. You have to either A, make a shittier game, or B, try to charge more for a game. And if somebody asked you to pay $80 for a game, would you pay it?
I would be willing to pay more depending on the game.
Yeah,
Exactly.
It truly depends on the game.
Well, how's the game going to convince you that you need to pay $80?
If the next Elder Scrolls were coming out and it looked absolutely amazing, I would pay $80 for it. Just because I trust that franchise, Elder Scrolls. Now, if it's a game I've never heard of,
Exactly.
I would not pay.
Like if Anthem was coming out and said they were going to be $80.
I would wait to see the reviews.
Yeah, exactly. And if everybody has the mentality that you do about it, they're not going to make enough money to recoup what they spent on it in the first month, and then they're going to have to fire half of their staff.
Yeah.
So what do? You do what exactly all of these game companies are doing and everybody hates. You release an unfinished product. You give people what you have at the time because you need the money to come back. So it's like, well, fuck me. Like, I don't want the game industry to die, but I also don't want to pay more for my games. I also don't want to keep paying for my game. Like, there's a common ground that needs to be made, and both parties involved need to have conversations about it. What is the right way to do to have the gamer actually pay more for their thing? You know what I mean?
I think this is just, and I've thought this before, I think gaming prices need to be more flexible both ways. I feel like just having one standard price of $60 for a system game, regardless of what the game is. Now, there are some games that come out that are like $30 or $40. Like, I think Crash was $40, right? But, you know, if they started flexing around the price of games where you know how good or how much of that game, you know, there is based on the price, you may be more willing to pay $80 or $100 for an Elder Scrolls game,
right,
when you're only paying $20 or $30 for a Madden game, where people say that the only difference is the new roster every year. You know what I mean? But the thing is, no company wants to take less money for any other games. They only want to take more money for the games they work on. So it's kind of like give and take. Like, you know, I'll pay more for the really, really expensive games that you worked on, but then give me a break on the games that you don't really work on.
Yeah, and that's another thing is like, you have to think about in the entertainment industry, where does fluctuation in prices actually happen? I've never paid less for a movie that wasn't deemed as good. You know what I mean?
I agree with what you're saying from a new standpoint. I guess this works with games too, though. When it comes to used, you'll see a lot of shitty movies in a bargain bin for $2, but you're not going to see Star Wars in a bargain bin for $2. So. But that's used is a completely different thing because they're not releasing it at that price.
Right.
So
So the only other thing that I could think of is like, how are you going to be able to judge? How are you going to have like the ability to judge how good a game is? What price point it would be fair at? Yeah. It's like betting on a pay-per-view. If I pay for a pay-per-view for the UFC, I can either get all 15 rounds of the fight, or the fight that I'm going to see could last 30 seconds, and then and that's what baffles me is like I never really thought of it like fully out why pay-per-views exist. But with pay-per-view, with fights, you have to do pay-per-view because you can't sell those ad spots because you don't know if there's going to be anywhere to put an ad spot. But that's another thing with games is there a way to monetize it differently? Is there going to, without weird intervention from a government entity or an academy entity or something like that? It's really hard to think of how are we going to switch it other than just being all right, with the next generation, all of the games are $80.
Yeah.
Just
well, that's what I was going to ask is, how flexible do you think the community is? If that happened and they said next system of games, $80, or they said games from now on, $80, that's a standard. Do you think people are going to go along with that, or how much do you think people are going to bend on that?
I think that it's hard because a big factor in gaming is there's a lot of people who don't buy their own games. Mm-hmm. For me, I don't give a damn. Dude, charge me $100. If it's going to be a game that I can play for at least 100 hours, then I'll pay it. But if 12-year-old me asked my mom for a $100 game, my mom would be like, "Oh, better go back to shoveling driveways.
Get your ass out of here.
It's summer.
You better get a fucking job." No fucking way. You know what I mean?
Well, that's a big thing. That's a big point too. Is in today's world, how much do you think video games are still marketing towards kids more so than adults? Because I feel like adults, young adults, people our age and a little bit older, have become a huge market in video games, as to where in the 90s, early 2000s, it's mostly kids with some older kids playing. So you would think there's more money, is what I'm trying to say. More money available because there's more adults who get video games and want them,
right,
as to where 20 years ago.
But at the same time, you have to take these developers and they have to hit every range of the market now. So you're not going to have one game, unfortunately, that hits everyone. And if you do, that game's going to be the $60 or $80 game that everybody wants.
It's probably Smash.
But it's just a game that your little cousin plays isn't not going to have the same appeal to you as the games you want to play and vice versa. Mm-hmm. So they're going to have to create more content, spend more money to be able to hit all the markets.
Yeah, I think that it's just where can gaming go? You know what I mean?
And we've talked about this before.
How often do you buy, for instance, in movies, how many times have you gone and seen the same movie?
Not very often.
But when you had Movie Pass, you said that you would go and see a movie multiple times. I know that there are people like Alex who don't care. They will pay to go see a movie a couple times in the theaters. Yeah. I'm not going to buy a game more than twice at max. And if I do buy it the second time, it's because the game's 10 years old and I want to play it again.
Yeah.
And that's something I was going to bring up, because we talked about this before, is are they eventually going to be going to this subscription sort of setup to where you're almost guaranteed, I don't want to say guaranteed, but you at least have income coming in every month as a developer. You're like, okay, we have this many people that are subscribed to us for next month. Here's your content. We at least know that we have this much coming in, and we don't have to single-handedly be like, we have to sell this many copies to be able to hit this equilibrium for this game.
Yeah, and I think that there's, on the other side, you kind of want to eliminate, from the developer standpoint or the publisher standpoint, you want to eliminate the ability to sell used games. Mm-hmm. As much as the community would hate that, if I went and I bought God of War and I beat it in 7 days and I turned around and sold it to Zach, they're never going to see that second profit. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
So they want to try to eliminate that. And I think that's where subscription services really help them, because if I'm subscribed, you also have to subscribe so you can play games with me.
Yeah.
So
look at World of Warcraft. That's been a subscription since it's come out.
Right.
And they were doing fantastic. I know we're going to talk about Blizzard and Activision a little bit later and their struggles, but they were the big one that started that, and it wasn't too much money at the time, or it wasn't overbearing for gamers to go ahead and play World of Warcraft.
Right. And I think that it's just going back to Bethesda, what you'll see across the industry and across the ones that I'm saying is there is a ton of innovation happening, especially in these huge companies like Bethesda, what new aspect of their games have actually done well. I mean, in Fallout 76, they try to do them all online, and they shit the bed. And, like, I couldn't tell you the difference between Fallout 4 and Fallout 3 from what I played.
Yeah.
Like, there was. Like, there was some graphic changes and all that kind of stuff. But, like, gameplay changes. You know what I mean? Like, where the game feels new and different. And you'll see that across most of these other ones. Like, moving on to the next publisher as, like, EA. Fuck. Everybody will talk about this. What is the difference between FIFA 17 and FIFA 18?
Nothing.
What about the difference between FIFA 18 and FIFA 19?
The roster.
It's really any sports game. It's the roster and then like one or two tweaks to one of their modes.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is coming from someone who buys Madden every single year from EA, and it's the same fucking game every year. But I buy it because I want Baker Mayfield in the game. You know?
And that's the thing is, like, in any other game, a roster change would be a software update.
Yeah, or a DLC.
Yeah.
And the sad part is, they still do that. I know a friend of ours, Corey, who has Madden 2015. And every year he's just like, I'm going to go find someone who made Baker Mayfield and download him. And that's my game for the year.
That's good for some people, but...
He's got to have it.
They got me hooked. You know, I can't...
Yeah, but EA, on the other hand, dude, they're like the flagship for me thinking that the AAA gaming industry is just fucking dying. Their stock was in a free fall for a long time. Like, the C-level execs are just selling like all of their shares, like millions of dollars worth of shares. There's these people who make the decisions, guide the company to try to be more profitable, are like, well, fuck it, I guess I better sell $2 million worth of shares this quarter.
Yeah, if you see people getting off the boat, you're going to get off the boat too.
Right. And so that's not a good... Exactly. From investors, you see the CEO and the CFO sell $2 million worth of shares. You're not going to be like, oh, better buy up those shares. You're going to be like, oh, fuck, I got to get rid of my shares.
Yeah.
And it's just like... What we were talking about with Josh is people buy Madden every year, but less and less people are buying Madden every year.
So the first is Madden still $60 every year?
Yeah.
Would you?
And I bought it for $80 this year because I didn't want Antonio Brown on the cover, so I bought the $80 version of
Jesus Christ!
No comment.
Yeah, you're the part of the problem.
You spent $20 for a picture.
And you know what? He was still on the fucking disc.
Jesus Christ.
I also did get the game 3 days early, but that's a very small factor. The cover was the main factor. But but no, for real though, this was the first year with Madden where I did start to realize, like, I played it for like maybe a month, and then I got bored of it, and I'm like, I really don't want to buy it next year. It's really going to be a battle with myself to try myself to keep myself from buying it. Unless the reviews are amazing, because it's just the same fucking game every year. It's football. What are they going to do?
Would you buy Say They Sold to at a $40 price or a $30 price? Would you do it then?
I think $40, I'd be satisfied getting it every year. $40 fee every year, that's like, what, $5 a month if you break it down?
Yeah.
I can't do math. But
you only played it for 1 month, so really it's $40 for the 1 month.
Yeah, you're right. But I'm saying, I would be much more accepting of 40 is like my max of an annual. I could agree with that still.
I do have to give sports games, they usually come out with like one new concept per year, or I always see like for Madden, like we redesign the hit aspect, but they say that every fucking year, and I don't know how many more times they can change it.
Yeah, every year it's like two things where you're like, and this is with 2K too, with basketball, where it's like two things where you're like, ooh, that looks really neat, but it's not worth $60 fucking dollars.
It's not a $60 change, yeah, and there's more and more people having this discussion that we're having right now. It's like, really though, like $60 a year for a game I only play for the first 2 months it's out, and then I play it every once in a while whenever my friends come over and want to play.
And once the new one comes out, if you buy the new one, you're never playing that old one again.
Exactly.
There's zero reason to ever play it, and you can't trade it in for anything because now the new one's out. So you're going to get like $2 if you try to trade in the old one. So yeah, it's a vicious cycle.
And it's absolutely brutal. I don't know, man. EA is just the fucking... Like, EA is like seeing the Black Pearl and like, fuck, dude.
See, but it baffles me because I also feel like EA could be the one that starts, like, where we can see video games going. Like, imagine if EA came out and was like, all right, we're going to move all of our sports games and make it a subscription base. To where you spend $10 a month and you get all of your sports games and we keep the most up-to-date one for you. That would just change the game for them.
Absolutely.
And you're still spending the same amount of money technically, but people don't think of it that way.
You spend more money.
Yeah, like $10. Yeah, you are spending more. Yeah. Twice the money, actually, if it's $10 a month. Yeah.
Yeah, but this is the thing. What I also think is that EA is in the perfect position to just take the full game industry and turn it into something better. But under their current, C-level execs, it's not going to happen. They'll drive this gaming ship directly into the fucking rocks and just be like, oh shit, I made $1 billion being the CEO of EA. And me and my family and my family's family forever will never work ever again. Imagine if every quarter you could just get an extra millions of dollars just selling your shares for EA. Like, absolutely brutal.
We'd be recording this in a studio.
Yeah, a real studio. That's what I'm saying is, like, if they scrapped all of their C-level execs and got actual people who cared about the game industry in there, they could easily be the one who just turns it all. Because they're the ones who do all of this shit that everybody goes, well, I guess that's okay. And then every other game company does it, and then everybody who didn't think it was okay but didn't buy EA games goes, what the fuck happened to my games? And then blame EA for it. You know what I mean? Like, these, whatever the fuck is in sports games where you, like, build a team, but you have to pay real money for it.
Yeah, fucking the ultimate packs and shit. Yeah, like in Madden, you know, like, I forget what it's called, like Ultimate Team or something.
But you have to buy them, like, with real money?
You don't have to, but your team will be shitty. It's like, oh, your team's shitty. Do you want this 99 level card for $5?
Oh, so it's you either grind 90 hours or you can just buy
Or,
yours.
like, if you play NBA 2K online or whatever, and it's like, you have to buy team members or
or like in my career in 2K, it was a huge controversy last year because like you have to level up your player. You start at like a 60 overall, and you are not getting above like a 70 unless you're buying your stats because the amount of time it takes to earn your points to level up is just atrocious. They made it a little bit better this year, but it's still like if you want to be 90 or above, you have to pay $70 to fucking upgrade your player. I think I like filled all of his stats to see this year how much it would cost, and it would cost like $40 to get him to like a 90 or something. I'm like, I'm not doing that shit.
And exactly, he's just telling us this about now. And what does that sound like to you? That's pay to win. Yeah. That is the one thing the rest of the gaming industry goes, if you make your game pay to win, none of us will buy it. What happens with sports fans? They buy that shit up and then they're like, oh, why is this fucking stupid?
Yeah.
But then there's fucking 500,000 people who are like, oh, I'm going to have the best fucking player in the fucking game and spend an extra $100 to make his sets godlike.
Yeah, and then the 2K has like one concession and they're like, all right, well this year we won't charge you for haircuts. You can get haircuts on your player for free, but you still gotta buy everything else.
What the fuck?
I have to pay like 3,000 coins if I want a tattoo on my player.
I'm pretty happy I stopped playing sport games.
Right? It's just like the field of pioneering how they're going to rip a lot of people off.
Yeah.
Because like... say in Madden, right, if you're making your team and they ask if you want to pay $3 to have Baker Mayfield as your quarterback automatically. $3, that doesn't sound that bad. I love Baker Mayfield. Then they take that and they go, oh, they'll do it in there. Let's see if we can do it in Call of Duty. Hey, are you going to pay $2 for this hollow red dot site? And all of us are like, hey, fuck you.
I remember.
And they're like, okay, chill. I remember, Madden, what do you got this time?
I remember in college when Call of Duty was like, all right, in this DLC we're also going to release a gun, and that's when I was like, I'm done playing this.
Right.
If I have to spend $10 to get a new gun that's probably going to be broken to start with, I'm not going to do this.
Yeah, that's what's really fucking annoying. We'll get to that. We'll actually start talking about them now. So Blizzard and Activision are dying as we speak. They're just like, they're fine. They're not going away anytime soon. Don't be alarmed. But they are also like losing a huge amount of their player base To where? I don't really know. I guess probably Fortnite. I don't fucking know. But
everyone's losing to Fortnite.
Yeah. So back to what I was talking about. In this Call of Duty, they tried to sell you a variant of the red dot sight. So instead of having like the normal red dot, it was a hollow dot. So the little inside wasn't red dot, and they sold it for $1. And everybody was like, "Hey, no, don't fucking do that." And Call of Duty was like,
was it like because they said it's like, oh, it's like a cosmetic, it doesn't affect the stats of your gun,
right?
Yeah.
So, but if everybody bought it up because they really liked that sight in another game, then guess what? In the next game, we're going to get the evolution of that, and it's going to be like, oh, you really want the red dot sight unlocked for all of your guns all the time? Just pay $5, and then you're like, oh, cool, now I never have to unlock the red dot sight again. Oh, that doesn't sound too far off from what we were just talking about. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't change any of the stats, just changes your optic, and you're like, I guess I'll have to pay for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, like, it's just so brutal. But another thing about them, like, dying is Blizzard spent a ton of money trying to do this Overwatch League thing. And have you watched any of the Overwatch League?
Yes.
You have?
I've actually watched the past 2 years of it.
Really?
Yes.
You're the only one.
I probably am.
No, there's quite a few people who like get really into it, but I don't think that they had the impact that they really wanted to. They're like trying to partner with these like NBA teams and shit like that, so that they could get kind of like they're trying to be at least as viewed as like some of the minor sports are, or at least as viewed as soccer in the United States. But they just aren't meeting those goals, and they keep like people keep putting more money into it, and I'm not seeing any reason going forward to watch Overwatch. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I haven't played Overwatch in a year. I'm not going to start watching Overwatch.
Yeah.
Like, because I don't play it anymore. So it's really weird because you have to be like, A, we have to have a game that everybody's going to play for a long time, or B, we need to make sure that people are watching this early enough so that they would keep watching it for a long time.
Yeah.
And I don't think that they hit that mark in time. If the Overwatch League would have came together like within the first year of Overwatch, I think it would have done a lot better. But now I think it's like starting to ramp up too late.
Yeah.
And it's a huge investment that they lost. I mean, they cut one of the games that I used to play quite a bit. Heroes of the Storm lost like a major portion of their development staff going forward, and it's one of the only Blizzard games I play really anymore. So it's like, what's going on? They also lost a lot of their senior execs. Well, I think they lost the CEO and maybe the CFO. I think the CFO went somewhere else. That might have been, I think they went to Netflix. I don't know if that was Blizzard or Activision or something like that. Yeah, so there's some turbulent waters going on for Activision Blizzard. They just lost Bungie.
Wow.
Oh, Bungie, yeah, we just talked about that, yeah.
Bungie just went with Destiny. They're going on their own. So,
dang.
Who knows what's actually going on with Activision and Blizzard, if they could really pull it back together, or if they're just going to kind of keep falling apart like that. So we'll move on to Ubisoft. Ubisoft actually hasn't given me any indicators that they're dying, which is good. But The Division 2 will tell me how to feel about them going forward. Have you seen anything about The Division 2?
I actually have. I've been looking a little bit more into it. It's just like...
I think it looks good.
It's just the first one left such a bad taste in my mouth. I just don't...
Really?
Yeah.
You didn't like the first one?
No. To be honest, I really didn't. I thought the first one was okay. I'll give the first one a 7 out of 10. But the way that they were hyping it up and what I thought they promised to everybody made me think that it was going to be like a 9 out of 10, like a generational game for them.
Yeah, I think that is part of the problem with with a lot of the AAA games, is that their marketing department is so overzealous when it comes to marketing a lot of these AAA games. Like, I can tell you more games that I was overhyped for than I was actually adequately or underhyped for.
Who made No Man's Sky?
Hello Games.
Because that was also another one that was just like
They weren't
marketed
AAA, so
they weren't.
No, but yeah, it was
same concept.
Yeah, I mean, basically, if you could just imagine what happened with the Fire Festival has happened in games a million times. We're just not paying thousands of dollars and or almost dying on an island for them. Like, we've been promised so many things, and then we get a third of those things, and we're like, hey, when this showed at E3, what about this? Yeah. And you're just like, nah. You're like, fuck you.
Can I get my money back? No. Right.
So we'll have to see with Ubisoft. Ubisoft, keep it up, but also get good.
We're putting a lot of pressure on your shoulders.
Another big gaming company, another well-known gaming company, I don't know how big they are anymore, is Sega. Sega Games, as they're called now, because they don't make consoles anymore. When was the last time you came up with a Sega game?
I think the last Sega game I played was Sega Generations.
Sonic.
Or Sonic Generations.
For the longest time I thought...
When I say Sega, I meant Sonic Generations.
For the longest time I thought Sega only made Sonic, and that was it.
I'm looking at their list right now, and the only one I can even find that's like has an IP to it is Bayonetta. They made Bayonetta. But besides that, it's all Sonic and then a bunch of games I haven't heard about.
And has anyone in this room played Bayonetta?
Nope.
In Smash, I have.
Yeah, I know what it is.
So you're telling me that their lifeline is their character being in Smash?
When was the last Sonic game they came out with?
I think they just came out with one for the Switch.
When was the last good Sonic game?
It's all the same thing. It's all just a bunch of Sonic games, like a collection of Sonic games. Sonic Generations was fun for the PS3, where you get to play as the new Sonic and the old Sonic. I did like that, but that was at this point almost 10 years ago. So
what's new Sonic? Is that Knuckles, or is that just a character?
Oh, it's Sonic, 2D Sonic, and 3D Sonic.
Oh, you mean like a new game? Okay.
Yeah, it was like you go back between the side-scrolling Sonic and the new 3D Sonic.
Gotcha, okay.
I think they're making Shenmue 3. I have to double-check that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they are also making Shenmue.
But okay, so it's like a reboot of an old ass franchise that has like a what do you call it, like a niche audience.
Yeah, that has like a cult following or whatever. So here's the thing. Here's the real thing that like the reason why I kind of wanted to talk about this is BioWare. So BioWare, and they're owned by EA, so this is where a real problem comes in. EA keeps making their games do this thing where if you don't have EA's subscription service, you get access to the game basically a month after people who do have their subscription service. So as you guys can see, and I'll probably tweet out later this week, they have these charts that they show about how ways to play Anthem is what it's basically the chart is. Mm-hmm. And if you have their Origins premium access, you get it at the beginning of February versus if you just pre-ordered the game straight out, you don't get to play it until the end of the month of February. As you can see, that's kind of fucking shitty.
Yeah.
But guess what? They're not the only fucking game with a chart. EA did this again with Battlefield, the last Battlefield that came out. The one that was World War II or whatever.
You mean World War One?
Was it World War One? Whatever the most recent Battlefield was, they did the same shit. They had a chart.
Wasn't it Battlefield 1?
It was called Battlefield 1.
Okay.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, I was talking about Battlefield 5. Pretty sure, right? That's the most recent one is Battlefield 5.
I'll take a look, but go ahead and keep going.
I can't tell you the last time I played a Battlefield game.
So, yeah, they had a chart for that too. And it was like, if you have EA premium access, you get X amount of days beforehand. And guess who else recently came out with a chart? The Division 2.
Fucking.
Right? And guess what? Depending on your level of pre-order, so if you pre-order the base game, you get a certain amount of content. If you pre-order the super premium crazy edition, the one that's like $200, you get early access to the game, I'm pretty sure.
Real quick, it was Battlefield 5 was the last release game.
Okay.
And they did, so with Battlefield 5, they did the same sort of chart where they say if you had Origins premium access, then you could do it. So
the EA also did that for Madden, not as egregious, but if you had their EA early access thing, you did get Madden like a week early. So I did know that.
The crazy thing to me is I'm looking at the Anthem one right now, and it looks like some of these accesses are also limited to what console you're playing it on. So you can only have the Origin Access Premium for PC. And it's something you can't get on PS4 or Xbox.
Yeah.
Right.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah. So if you're a premium player on PC, I think that the chart is kind of confusing. So the middle ones are talking about the demos. Mm-hmm. So you get to be in these private demos or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, the second one, the one where it's all X's except for the bottom, is the early access full game.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
one where you have to have PC to get the full game. And then it looks like in order to get the full game on PS4 or Xbox One, you don't get it.
Yeah, what this chart's telling me is if you did not pre-order it on the PC, you're not getting your full worth of the pre-order, pretty much.
Basically. Yeah,
That's
so
interesting.
it's kind of fucking stupid.
I
But
get
that's
it. Though.
happening.
I get it, but it's interesting.
All right.
Good job.
We're going to switch up the order here and we're going to talk about Valve. When was the last time a Valve game came out?
Make Half-Life 3.
They're not going to.
I don't know what Valve is.
Valve is the people who made Half-Life. They also were huge in the Left 4 Dead, I'm pretty sure. Mm-hmm. And they also made TF2.
Oh, and they made Portal.
They made Portal also.
Yes.
Okay.
So, when was the last time Valve made a game?
Portal 2, I assume.
Yeah.
They made this game called Artifact. I don't know what that is.
What is that? I don't
Looks
know.
like a
Where's
card playing
that?
game.
Is it a card game?
Yeah. Does that count? I don't know. I don't think so.
So people have been begging Valve to make these next installments in their games, and they just aren't. Is Valve dead? Or is Valve just only going to deal with Steam now? You know what I mean? Like, what do we... That company doesn't even barely exist anymore, and they're considered one of the top AAA game companies.
Yeah.
And we can't get Half-Life 3. We can't get Left 4 Dead 3. Like...
That's insane.
So from what I'm looking at here, it looks like Portal was their Portal 2 was their last game that was on a console, which was 2011. They've had a bunch of games since then that are only on PC: Dota 2, Counter-Strike Online, and then this Artifact game from last year was a mobile game. They have one game scheduled for 2019, but it's only a PC game. It's called In the Valley of Gods. That's all it says. But nothing console-wise, and very few PC games.
All right. So let's talk about the game companies that give me hope that AAA gaming isn't dead. Rockstar. Rockstar makes some good-ass games. Mm-hmm. They make some big-ass games and some good-ass games.
I can agree. And I think the biggest game to me that shows that is the Red Dead series.
I think that GTA is also very big.
You're not wrong. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Well, GTA and Red Dead are basically their two games.
Yeah.
But that's like one of them that gives me hope, because they've kind of gotten a good model for like GTA Online on how to keep that game moving and keep money coming into the company.
Plenty of people still play GTA 5.
Yeah.
Like, you can go on GTA 5 to this day and play with people online.
And they're still releasing content for that game.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why like Rockstar gives me hope. Personally, I'm not huge into Rockstar games. Mm-hmm. Like, they just don't make games that I'm interested in. I got GTA 5 and never opened it. I got it for Christmas and never opened it. Mm-hmm. It's just not for me. I just don't care that much. And I probably won't ever get Red Dead 2 because, again, not for me. But I know there are a lot of people that love those games, and I do appreciate what they do for gaming. It's never been my cup of tea.
They have that perfect split to me of where they can create that game that has 60 plus hours of gameplay, especially if you want to play by yourself. But they also give you that online setting where you can play with friends, but that's not the center of it all.
Right.
Yeah.
But the real saving grace, the messiah of the revival of these games that we call AAA is Nintendo. Let's look at the Nintendo games that have come out in the last few years, and let's talk about how fucking great they've been. Breath of the Wild, probably one of the best games I've played since I was in high school. Super Mario Odyssey, probably one of the best games in the platforming genre since the last Mario game, which was really great. I don't even remember.
Probably
It
like
was
Super
Galaxy.
Mario Galaxy
Yeah.
2. Yeah.
Everybody thought was good. Smash, also a game. Probably one of the best fighting games I've ever played. What else? Mario Kart.
Mario Kart.
Probably the best racing game. Like, Nintendo does it. I don't know how they do it, but they've been doing it pretty well.
I was just going to say, they were an underdog for me because the Wii came out, didn't live up to the hype. Wii U came out, I didn't think that was a very good console. And then they're just like, alright, we need to do something, come out with the Switch and just blow everything away.
I think that the Wii did live up to the hype, but it didn't live up to the way that it was made. It wasn't made for people like us. It wasn't made for people who wanted to just sit down and play games. It was made as a family game console.
Family console, yeah.
But that's where they kind of deviated from their normal path. Normally, Nintendo views their products as toys. You could see that with an N64. You could see that with the GameCube. The Wii kind of was more like a console, like a entertainment system. You know what I mean? Where it was kind of like for the whole family. And that's where everybody was like, okay, like, it's good for the family or whatever. Like, we've had plenty of nights we had a great fucking time playing Wii Sports. The game that came with the Wii.
Wii Bowling.
And like, all of us have fond memories of games on the Wii. The Wii U, yes, that shit was a flop. Absolutely. But there's so much that happened in the Wii U that Nintendo found out that goes into the reason why we have the Switch today. We would never have the Switch without the Wii U.
Yeah,
I can see that.
The Switch is, from a person who owned a Wii U, and the Switch, the Switch is like the perfected version of the Wii U. The Wii U is like the prototype of the Switch, basically.
Exactly. And I think that as much as a lot of people don't like the Wii U, there are still people who do like the Wii U, don't get me wrong. And I could tell why, because like the gamepad was so cool. Like, you could do so much on it, and then they were like, oh, we could easily make that way better. And then they did.
And I'll stand by that. The Wii U is a fine system. It's just not on the level of a PS4 or an Xbox. I've never played Xbox One, but even Xbox 360, like, the Wii wasn't on the level of PS3 or 360. It was its own thing. But the Switch is just, it blows all of that out of the water.
Right. And that's the problem. Like, that's one of the things is obviously everybody likes to find something to complain about. It's the case for everything. I mean, the greatest movie of all time could come out and people are still going to be like, well, you know, I didn't like the lighting in Scene 38. You'd be like, well, shut the fuck up. And that's how it's going to be with Nintendo. Everybody's like, this gaming system is awesome. We can all agree on that. The games that they release for it is awesome. One thing that they've never been able to do well, and they finally are actually giving an attempt, is online. Like, they're giving a real attempt at, like, real-time online gaming. And their first iteration, everybody's like, the online sucks. You're like, yeah, because they've never fucking done it before. Give them some fucking time. Let them figure it out before you start freaking out that your Switch doesn't do the perfect iteration of online. I mean, nobody really can do that, right? A PlayStation sits in one spot, and it can pretty much gauge what it needs to do based on your connection strength. Now, what happens if you tried to move your PlayStation around while you played it?
It is such a pain. Not even
just imagine someone picking up their PS4 and shaking it.
Yeah, no, you like bump into the PS4, it's like, your disc is just getting scratched up on the inside.
And then you have to consider like this is like, when I play my PlayStation, how close do I sit to my PlayStation?
Not close.
Multiple feet away from my PlayStation. When you play your Switch in handheld mode, how far are you going to be from your Switch?
Right in front of it?
Yeah, I was about to say maybe a couple feet.
Now, consider the fact that like, the hardware of the Switch is all inside the handheld. You put that in a dock, you're blocking your Wi-Fi. That was a design flaw in itself. But they have LAN adapters you can run, and you can buy them, and it'll work. And that's what Peter does. He streams Switch games, and the only way he can do it is because he runs through Ethernet. And that's only because Wi-Fi isn't... I think that if Wi-Fi could get better, the Switch will also get better with it.
Yeah. No, I agree. One thing, and I'm just got the Switch, so I'm still pretty new to it, but one thing I actually really like about it is I'm pretty sure it does not have access to Netflix on Hulu, correct?
It has Hulu.
It does have Hulu?
Yeah.
So the one thing that I've noticed about the Switch from having it for a short time is that over the last couple years, Microsoft and Sony have been trying to push their gaming consoles as also like a home entertainment system. Like, it can do this, it can do that, it can communicate with your TV, it can get you to the channel you want. And Nintendo's like, this is a gaming console. This is what it's here for. And they just fully embrace it, and that's what I really like about it. And you can tell.
Yeah, and the Switch has made me feel like playing my PS4 is a chore. Like, if I can turn on my Switch and be playing Smash in literally a minute. Like, the loading time is nothing. Like, it's instantly on. My PS4 takes a good 6 minutes to start up, log in, get into a game. The game has to load. I'm playing Switch in 90 seconds.
Yeah.
So it honestly blows my mind for how, like, I don't want to say dinky, but how, like, ridiculous it looks of, like, oh, I'm just putting the system in this little plastic dock here. But it works so smoothly. And this has just turned to us praising the Switch again. But
every episode from here on out, because now that Zach has a Switch, will turn into us praising the Switch. We might as well just call this Switch Radio.
I get to finally fully interact with what you guys have been talking about.
But yeah, coming back to
this has nothing to do with the death of AAA gaming. This
is the revival of Nintendo and what they brought back to us.
Yeah, Reggie, save me. But yeah, bringing it back to what we were talking about, I think that there is a lot of potential in gaming, but the people who run game companies, especially AAA companies, aren't gamers. So they aren't really in touch with what the industry needs or wants. They're in touch with how they're going to get those shareholders the most bang for their buck.
Yeah, they're businessmen or women at the end of the day, just trying to figure out how to make the most money.
Yeah. So if you had to bet, I guess we can all answer this, but I'll start with you, Isaiah. If you had to bet, would you say we're looking at the death or the rebirth of AAA gaming?
I think that 2019 will be the fall of it. And I think that the rebirth will come in the future. I think that this is the last... This year and next year are probably going to be the last years where these game companies do all this fucking bullshit. Because the stronger that the indie game revival gets, the more that these AAA companies are going to have to get their shit together.
Yeah, I agree. I can see a lot of these companies are probably going to take the Nintendo route, where at one point in time they're going to hit the low mark and be like, what are we doing wrong? We need to get back to what we were doing originally. And I think that's what 2019 is going to be, is them being like, all right, let's take a step back. This is what we did wrong. Let's fix it. And that's what 2020 and from here on out is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you guys. I just hope that it ends up being the Switch is the new standard for video games going forward. I could care less about online play. I know I'm in the minority when it comes to that. It's not not what I like to do for the most part. So, yeah.
I think that's about it.
I think I'm going to go play some more of fucking... What the fuck? Apex.
I'm going to go home and unlock more people in Smash.
All right, well, real quick. Isaiah, where can we find you on social media?
You can find me on social media at PHP_iSlaya. If you got anything to say to me about how I've been treating these game companies, go ahead and say it. I think that's it, really.
And you can find me, Zach, at Zaxy_I know it on Twitter. Still working on the Instagram, but we'll get there.
Still working on the Instagram, eh?
You can find me at _Joshua Singh_ on Twitter and Instagram, although I've deleted it from my phone. I just couldn't do it anymore. But YouTube just started a new series, and Pokemon series. It's going to be a new video this week for Pokemon the first movie and Pokemon 2000. And yeah, I got a bunch of other movie related stuff there. We want to thank American Spirits for Blanket Forts, our intro and outro, and Surgerberger for the See It, Rent It, Stream It theme. If you want to be a guest on Hooligan Radio, you can email us at hooliganradio23@gmail.com. You don't have to be around us. You can be from anywhere. You can Skype in. We can get you
make
on
it
here.
work. We can make it work. So Zach, I think you should wait to make your Instagram so that you can put Ohio Grassman, like our picture of Ohio Grassman as your first Instagram picture.
When we catch him,
Oh, yeah.
That's when I'll debut my Instagram.
That's the first picture, yeah.
His very first picture will be a very grainy picture of what we think is the Ohio Grassman.